Welcome to another day, a new day, another Sunday, another weekly message here at the Church of. I am your host, and I'm the host with the most, and hopefully the Holy Ghost, as they used to say. And it's a joy to see you. It's a joy to have you here. Welcome to church, as they say. Welcome to another great gathering of those who are in pursuit of the bigger picture and the truer truth, right? As we said recently, not Christ aligned, but in ever pursuit of Christ aligning. And I greet you, and I hope you're well. I hope you and yours are well, and you are prayed for daily. You are, thank God, thanks is given over your life daily. And I'm so glad that you're tuning in and logging on and part of this special day today. Right, the reason I was chuckling is right before we went live this morning for church service, I felt a sneeze coming on, so I don't know when that's going to hit me, but I'm reaching up discreetly to get my tissue close right now because when it hits, it will hit. Good morning to those of you logging on. I see Terry there and Chris and different people on. Good morning, Dan. Lane, hey, how are you out in Texas? Harry there in Tennessee, so glad to see you on. Please just let me know if you're out there because today is a special, special day. As you can see, I'm sitting down. I'm hoping that contributes more to being able to impart the things I want to impart to you, the large spiritual truths that I want to impart to you. And so thank you for accommodating me. I might be standing up next week still getting excited or overexcited, but for now, to all of you who are out there, this is what we're doing. So welcome to Instagram, welcome to Facebook, welcome, of course, to YouTube. If you are on YouTube, if you right now, you can click that subscribe button, that bell button, so many things coming up. If you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, you don't have to leave now, but please subscribe, hit that subscribe and add that notifications button. Every week, even as of yesterday and this morning, we are uploading more and more content for you, more and more ways to stir you and to feed you. A lot of you are familiar with Understanding TV. Of course, that collection of 13 years of the body of work that Connie and I put into pastoring and things that we thought, well, I don't know if it has as much value anymore, but it certainly does have value, and we are putting that out. And let's see, here's some people. Oh my gosh. Hey, Larry. Hey, everybody. I'm just seeing more people come on. Terry, thank you for the birthday wishes. We love you too. And anyway, hey, Joy, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for the love, the birthday love. But Understanding TV is going mainstream and digging through these messages, digging through the archives of the rich teaching. And of course, those of you know, as part of our church, there's a lot that I no longer ascribe to in the old weaponized doctrines of the church. But as I was going over some of the Understanding TV, some of those classic messages from Father's House and developing a spiritual mind and communication that works and home training, there's just too much good. There's too much of Christ not to put that out, not to celebrate that value and to release that value. So all the new teachings, new versions of Understanding TV, they come with a disclaimer that says, look, we've grown a lot since then. You're going to see some stuff. Not only are the hairstyles and the outfits dated, but a lot of the doctrine is simply not what we believe anymore. But if you want to learn how to love and learn how to live and learn how to be a human being, there's a lot of gold there. And honestly, I was shocked. Hey, Edens, good morning. Good morning, Renee, and glad you all are on. I was honestly shocked going back through some of the teachings. I was teaching on generational curses and one thing, and the whole thing is about raising your children and teaching them not to be afraid and how not to lose your head when they're not, when they're being fussy or whatever. And I'm like, how am I over here talking about developing a spiritual mind? And in a 1-hour teaching, I spent 25 minutes just talking about how to not lose it with your kids. Good morning, Mother Linda. We love you. It's just who we are. And so many of you know and have said, and, from our World Changers friends and family, the family that we have there, and from CJAX and from different places, Connie and I always kind of operate in this shame, like that we did a great big bait and switch, that we were teaching one thing and then all of a sudden we switched up. And it's not true at all. We were always trying to teach the larger truth. We were always trying to push Christ forward above Christianity, above the weaponized religion. But we kept running into the, what did they say? I would have gotten away with it hadn't been for those meddling kids. I could have preached Christ, but somebody introduced to me thousands of years ago that the Bible is where all truth ends. And man, once you realize that the truth of God is not in a book or in a denomination or in a teaching or in a tradition, but the truth of God is in God, and God is bigger than the history. God is bigger than the books. And we say, God's not bigger than the book. Well, that's the same thing they said when they thought the book ended at Malachi. And it turns out God was a little bigger than the book. And I had a pastor early on. I went to this church in Sanford, Florida. Pop, you remember that church we went to? We called it 46, that church out in 46, Route 46. And he used to talk about this. He said, we're living Acts chapter 29. And somebody says, well, Acts ends at chapter 28. The book of Acts ends at 28. And he says, no, we're now continuing that adventure and those discoveries. And I think that's powerful indeed. So, and I was thinking this past week about the church and the church of, for those of you who say, I don't even know what this thing is about. Well, our church is called the church of, and it says the church of blank. And somebody says, is that a curse word? It can be sometimes. But the church of blank, and we've called it the church of others. We've called it the church of now. We've called it the church of next. We've called it the church of, love. And I think I'm settling on the church of love. That's our website, thechurchof.love. But I want to leave it yet defined because, or yet undefined, I should say, because even the Church of Love doesn't do full justice. The Church of Love, it's the magnitude of that statement is only limited to your understanding of what love is, especially in a false religious context. But I say all that to say that I am now. I think I've got a slogan for the Church of. I've got it. It's not in ink yet, but the Church of Love is kind of where I'm getting to. But my new slogan for the Church of is more Christ, less Christianity. And I think that's where I'm at now. We're looking for more Christ at this church and less Christianity. And that is, for those of you that are first timer, a new timer, or whatever, that's really what this is about. If you saw our Grace Conversations finale this past Wednesday, if you missed it, it's still there for you, and I really encourage you to get it. But we kind of, my special guest, my dad, was on, and we kind of blew the lid off of false Christianity and that, and really, maybe for the first time, put it out for what it actually is. And if you know anything about the church, so much of, hey, Cindy, good morning. And so I say, what are you doing? I'm just having coffee and talking. I'm going to get to the message and give me just a minute. I've not even been on for 10 minutes yet. I'm sharing updates with the church for you. Maybe I shouldn't sit down. See, this is what happens when I sit down. I just ramble. But so much of the church right now, this morning, so much of the church, and if it's all over the Instagram, is fightings about who's going to heaven and why. Or who's not going to heaven and why not is probably the larger truth. And of course, who's going to heaven and why not has nothing to do with Jesus or his doctrine. All of that obsession of justification and substitution and righteousness and redemption, all that stuff was brought to us through false religion. They took Jesus' name, image, and likeness. And started to weaponize political and religious systems in his name. Hey, David, good morning. Hey, Frank. Hey, everybody. So glad to see you all. And David, love you and your whole family. This is so great stuff. This has nothing to do with Jesus. This, how are you going to get your sins forgiven, and how are you going to pay off the God of the Old Testament, and who's going to calm him down before he lays into you and beat you for all eternity? Jesus has to die for himself, to appease himself, to calm himself, to sacrifice himself to himself so that he can choose to let anybody who opts in. I mean, it's nonsense. And of course, it's nonsense, and it steals the truth of what Jesus really taught. Jesus taught true religion. Jesus taught true religion, and and I don't mean the denim wear, but Jesus taught true religion, and true religion is rooted in genuine spirituality. And that is what we are trying to pursue here. True religion, genuine spirituality. And somebody said, what do you mean by genuine spirituality? If you want to be a spiritual person, it's true spirituality is summed up in these two words. It's sourced in these two words. Someone said, I want to be not a religious person. I want to be a truly spiritual person. I don't want to be a weaponized person. I don't want to believe in this small God presented to me by the church and who died for the sins and whose blood is going to be this and all the things that were made up post hoc after the fact and a context laid on. And again, I'm getting into Grace Conversations. I don't need to. It's all in there from this past Wednesday. What date was that? Does anybody know? The 24th, I think. 23rd, I think it is. That's all false Christianity. It's all false religion. Someone say, what is true religion? It's sourced in true spirituality. What is true spirituality? It's simply you saying to God these two words, show me. Making that your prayer, show me. So I want to be a spiritual person. What does that look like? It just means saying to God, show me. Show me who you are. Show me who I am. Another way you could say it is, I was doing this in my prayer time. God, show me how to be a husband. Show me how to be a father. Show me how to be a son. Show me how to be a brother. Show me how to be a neighbor. Show me how to be a spiritual father, a spiritual son, whatever it is that I am. Am I a pastor? Am I a, man of God or whatever that means? Show me how to do that. What is this? This is God, I raise the sail of my soul. I raise the sails of my soul. I hoist those sails to the divine, to the winds of the divine mind, divine thought, the high thought. And I just show me how to be, I say, well, what am I, God? Am I a man of God? Am I a guru? Am I a mystic? Am I a prophet? Am I a seer? Am I a shaman? Am I just some dude that wants to help? I don't know how to do that. I think I know how to be a husband. Show me how to be a husband to Connie. I think I know how to be a dad. Show me. This is the cry, the heart's cry of the spiritual mind. Show me how to be a neighbor. Show me how to be a friend. Show me how to be human. Show me how to be human. And I think when you look at Christ and you look at the true teaching of Christ, I believe that's what we're being shown. We're being shown who God is. We're being shown God's true attitude towards human frailty, human blindness, human missteps. And that attitude is, I don't condemn. That attitude is, you're forgiven. That attitude is, I freely dispense good and grace to you for your frailty and your shortcomings and your fallings. And I am here feeling all of that limitation and frailty. And I am showing you what true humanity looks like. I'm showing you what true divinity looks like. Walk therein. As you have seen me, I've not only shown you who God is and how God is, as you've seen me, I've shown you how to go and relate to everybody else. And that ongoing desire, God, today, show me. And my kids are turning 18 and 21. I never been a father to an 18 and a 21-year-old before. My daughter's got a relationship with a young man, a very decent. I thought, man, am I hard launching their relationship? I don't even know what. I think it's been launched. I don't know. With a wonderful young man. Somebody say, is it the one? I don't know. Seems like it certainly checks the boxes. I don't know, but that's for him and her to decide. But God, show me. I want to center my life in the Holy Spirit. I want to center my life in God. I want to center my worldview. What is a worldview? My approach and response to this life. How I approach it and how I respond to it. I want that seated in the largeness of God. And as I look at Christ, not the false weaponization of religion built around Christ, but as I look at what I think I see of Christ bringing that into the earth, that's the spirituality that he was teaching. And it's that spirituality. So when I say more Christ, less Christianity, what I mean is more of that person and that what that person reveals about God, all the miscalculations, all the misunderstandings, all the wrong thoughts we got from the Old Testament. We got a lot of good things inside that Old Testament, but it offers a point of clarity on God and then takes away and creates cloudiness on God. Jesus, it says in John 1:8, no one had ever seen God at any time, but Jesus brought God out to where God, what? Show. You want to see the Father? You want to see God? You want to see love? You want to see the true heart of God? Look at me. And well, I need to know how to be a spiritual person, how to worship. He said, I'm going to show you. Look at your fellow man. Look at your neighbor. I mean, this is true spirituality. And how that got turned to Jesus' murder being turned to buying off God with blood and the Old Testament asks a lot of questions, and we got to come up with answers to those questions. Jesus of Nazareth said, I full well and with all 10 toes reject the false questions of God as presented by the Hebrew Scriptures. And he said to everybody in charge there, what they're teaching you is not God. It has nothing to do with God. The way they're teaching you to please God and to serve God has nothing to do with God. If you want to know how to please God and serve God, watch me. And what do? I go about using all my power to bring healing, help, and alleviate suffering. And he says, go out and teach the whole world what I taught you. And boy, what'd they say? Go out and tell everybody if they believe this, they're going to heaven. If they don't believe it, they're going to hell. I mean, the blood on their hands had barely dried before they invented a false, before they had just taken the false view that was and amplified it. They went global. It was a local false view, and then they took it global. And that's what we're doing here at this church, is saying, let's shed a lot of that nonsense, and let's move now into reseating that revelation of God at the center of who we are. Okay, that's all I got for the introduction. Let's get into this today, and I'm gonna feed you real good. I want to start in Matthew 6 and make reference to this because I think it's kind of central to what we're trying to get to. But Matthew 6:24. Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters. No human can have two bosses. For, verse 24, that person will hate the one boss and love the other boss, or that person will hold to the one boss and despise the other boss. And of course, he's not talking about bosses. He's talking about no man can serve God and mammon. Nobody can yield to the pull of God. No one can say to God, show me how to do this. And to mammon, all that material, the Amplified Bible says, money, possessions, fame, status, anything that could be compared to God. You can't have somebody playing two tunes in your soul and trying to be dancing to two different beats. It's just one thing's over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're trying to dance to that and dance to the, it's not gonna work. So much of Jesus' true teaching centers around our setting our relationship to material resources aright. So much of Jesus' teaching centers around setting our relationship to material resources aright. If you really look at what he taught, certainly there's some false demonic things in there. John 3:16, of course, is it's probably the poster child for false doctrine. Instead of going out, live how I taught you to live, they turned it around to go out and, believe this, or else, it's, instead of believe what I'm teaching you about life and God, and believe that and go out and live that and see what happens. We taught it to believe this or see what's going to happen to you. And of course, again, I don't want to go back over that. But Matthew now, you cannot serve God and money. And living a supernatural life simply requires you to value the flow of the Spirit above the flow of money, the flow of material resources. And we're talking about living a supernatural life. Somebody says, I want God to show me how to be human. I want to know. I want to ask God, show me how to be human. At the core of that teaching is setting aright our relationship to material things, to resources. And so many of us are stuck in the low life, stuck in the lower flow, simply because we have not yet conquered and brought dominion and brought come into mastery of this relationship, this proper relationship with the material world. In your notes now, so much of Jesus, I have this teaching and training. What is teaching? Teaching is kind of instruction. What is training? Show how to do. So much of Jesus' teaching and training centers around this reality. This reality of what? Of setting a relationship with materials right. You don't have to have this in your notes, but think of how many times with his Jesus taught his disciples, right? The spiritual first nature things that Jesus wanted to work in them. He wanted to get some spiritual things as first nature, primary thought. Spiritual things as first nature, but he wanted to work those things in him, but he also wanted to work the second nature things of the lower thinking out of them. And Jesus teaches his disciples. Jesus trains his disciples. And one of the primary elements of this teaching and training is resetting, recalibrating, restoring to factory settings their relationship with material resources, their relationship with mammon, the god that the false god of material resources that promises what that false god cannot deliver, that offers what that false god cannot perform, and that deceives. And think of all the time in teaching people, teaching his followers, teaching his disciples, here's what true spirituality is. You're coming to me. You look at the keepers of the temple. You look at the keepers of the guard of the gatekeepers of spiritual, political, institutional religion, and they cannot show you what it means to live spiritually. Jesus says, you come to me and you ask me to show you, teach us. And what does he teach? He teaches and trains them in a writing relationship with the material world, material blessing. Again, you don't have to have this in your notes, but I think of the disciples and kind of a Karate Kid, Daniel-san, wax on, wax off. Think of all the things that he tells them to do. Think of all the things that he takes them through. He takes his disciples before he starts out. He says, empty your pockets. Give me your credit cards. Give me your wallets. Give me the $20 you got crammed in your sandal. Give it all to me. Well, how are we supposed to live? I wanna break you from a false trust in the material world. I want to send you out there and show you my provision that you're going to live off the Spirit of God. You're going to live off the power of the Spirit. You're going to live by the preceding word rather than these material things. This is wax on, wax off. And you could see, what did Danny LaRusso say? Man, I'm out here. I'm painting your house. I'm renovating this. I'm doing your cars. He says, that's not what's happening to you. I'm training you. What? I am developing muscles and skills and first nature. You didn't even know you were learning paint, paint fence or, paint house or whatever. You didn't realize what you were, sand the floor. You didn't even know what you were learning, but something was being worked in you. Jesus, in his teaching of his disciples, bringing into a first nature right relationship with material things. First thing he does is says, put all your stuff in this bag. And Jesus says, I'll hold in the bag. He says, you're a liar. No, you're not going to hold on to that bag. Trying to work in them, spiritual first nature things, trying to work out. I'll say this, God is trying to work in us spiritual first nature things related to the material world. And he's trying to work out of, God is trying to work out of us things of this lower flow, the lower idea. He tells the disciples, empty your pockets. He tells them, live on the supply of the Spirit. Later on, he tells another dude, hey man, empty out everything and come follow me. And the guy says, and the disciples say, we did all that. What's going to happen to us? And he starts talking to them about the return that will happen. They get stuck in the woods. They got no food. And they say, well, we don't, 200 penny worth of bread couldn't feed everybody. And there's a guy here with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, but that ain't going to do nothing. And what's he do? Bring them to me. Let me show you again. You're limiting yourself by your observed on-hand resources, and I'm trying to center you in another supply. And so he multiplies. And then they go out and they're in a boat. And he says, watch out for the doctrine of these institutional religious people. It works like yeast and it'll corrupt you. It'll turn your ideas against God. And he tells them that. And they go, oh, it must be because we didn't bring enough bread for our trip. We don't have enough food. And he says, why would you guys say that? He says, man, when I had 5 loaves and 2 fishes, how many baskets? Well, we took up 12. When I had 4 loaves, how many baskets? And he keeps trying to tell them, you guys are still operating off that false relationship, that false mammon suggestion about you think you understand material things, you think you have a right relationship, but wax on, wax off, and it's developing in them. And of course it goes at the end of the 3 years, and what does he do? He says, all right, here's your wallet back, here's your card, here's your centurion card. I guess they were Roman. He says, here it is. Now go out now that you have it. But what did you learn? He said, when I sent you out without it, did you lack anything? They said, no, Lord, we didn't lack anything. Good. What? I was teaching you how to relate properly with these material things. And we think we're going to be spiritual people saying, God, show me, and that God would have no interest in bringing that understanding into our life. And God has great interest in recalibrating your relationship with material things. And so why are you doing this? Well, we're in a series on what happens about your funeral. What is your life going to be like at the end? But before you get to your funeral, you have to ask yourself, one of the questions is, what about your supernatural legacy? What supernatural legacy will you leave behind? That supernatural legacy is going to come about as a supernatural life that you live. That supernatural life that you live is going to come about as you being a person who walks in the Spirit, and you being a person who walks in the Spirit is going to come about as you centering yourself in true spirituality. And part of that wax on, wax off experience is this: God wants to redefine, recalibrate yours and my relationship to material things, to wealth and to money and to mammon. You can't go around this. This lesson is central to true spirituality. It is a subject you must master. Listen to me. You must earn your degree in what? God over money. What you get your degree in? I got my degree in God over money. And a lot of us have never completed that. A lot of us have never gotten to that place. True spirituality, you must master. Somebody say, well, what's your degree? I got a degree in economics. I got a degree in, early childhood development. What's your degree in? Your degree at some point, if you're going to be a spiritual person, has got to be, I earned my degree in God over money. And no one gets a 4.0 in that thing. We always make mistakes. Look at the disciples over and over again. Well, we must not have this. We don't have that. Master, there's food here, but it's not enough. And he keeps trying to bang it into their heads. Guys, you're still operating off a first nature of the deceitfulness of riches. I'm trying to bring you into a first nature of the truth about material things. Let me see. Are you out there? Are you still there? Okay, good. Well, I hope you're catching something. Well, when you get your degree when you get your degree in God over money, what does it look like? Well, here's what you learn. What do they teach you in that school? They teach you a couple things. I don't trust in money. That's not where my trust is. Another thing they teach you is I don't obey money. I don't trust money. I don't obey money. I don't jump to money. Money. You know what they say? When I tell you to jump, you're going to say how high, right? Money tells you to jump. Money says jump. And I look over at God and say, should I jump at that? I mean, that's your degree. You tell me you got a degree in psychology. You tell me you got a degree in economics. You tell me you got that kind of degree. I know what classes you must have taken. I know what books you must have read, and you tell me you have your degree in God over money. I know you took Don't Trust in Money class. I know you took Don't Obey Money class. I know you took Don't Jump to Money class. Here's another one. Don't trust in money. Don't obey money. Don't jump at money. Here's another one. Don't mourn money. Man, we lost 300. I lost it. If I had done this Bitcoin, if I had done that, God told me to do that and I didn't do it. Well, I've just been depressed about it ever since. You didn't graduate. You didn't get your degree. Because if you graduated from God over money, you don't dwell in all the missed opportunity. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I had only, by now I'd be. All that type of thinking is if Jesus were here today and you signed up to be in his class, you said, I'd like to take, show me how to be a spiritual person, show me who God is and show me what it means. I'd like to take that class. You would not have gotten your graduation certificate if you didn't. Now, listen, Kenobi went through puppy school when he was a little brand-born puppy, a wee-born puppy, wee bairn, as they say in Lady and the Tramp. They gave him a degree, but he really didn't complete it. You know, they were trying to keep the funding there. That PetSmart couldn't lose, or wherever Petco or wherever they couldn't lose. They couldn't afford to lose the funding on that. They passed him through, but he didn't have the basic skills. He didn't have the sit. The sit and don't obsess. Now, if you had a treat, that dog would get up and dance like that Warner Brother. Hello, my baby. Hello, I mean, that dog would do anything. You don't have any treat. He's trying to find someone who is. So somebody said, well, Kenobi, you graduated from public school. Barely, But when you've graduated from God over money school, when you've gotten your degree, you don't mourn. Why? Because mourning the financial opportunity missed. You know, Connie and I, somebody, he's passed on now, just a real sweet brother, real smart guy, was at our church, and they were talking about this Bitcoin. And he was a real computer guy, and man, he's gone on to that next place now. But I saw a picture of him the other day, and I just love this man so much. He's like, Pastor, you ever heard of Bitcoin? I said, no. He said, I'm going to get you a Bitcoin. I said, what is a Bitcoin? He said, I'm just going to get it to you. Okay, don't get too far ahead of me on my notes here. My Bitcoin. He says, I'm gonna get you one. I said, where do I keep a Bitcoin? He says, I get you a wallet. You keep in your Bitcoin wallet. And man, Connie and I, that was, I don't know, 2012, 2013. I don't know when it was. Connie and I were just broke, man, and well, we thought we were broke. Back then we thought we were broke. Huh? Oh, it was a couple years later. When was it? Okay, so 2016. I thought that's when we got rid of it. No, but he gave it to me, yeah. Yeah, so he gave it to us, I don't know, 2012, 2013, whatever it was. I said, I didn't even know what it was. A couple years later, 2016, we thought, man, we're really in a financial bind here. Do we have any money to pay this light bill? I said, I don't know. Hey, I said, I think I got some Bitcoin. And somebody can look it up whenever it was. We traded it in. It was worth $420. I was like, man, $420? This guy gave me, what is it? I don't know. It's an electronic money, $420. I was talking to somebody a couple months ago. He said, hey, do you have any Bitcoin? I said, I had one. He said, what do you mean you had one? He said, they're going for $105,000 now. Oh, God. You know, you can't do that. Why? Because what that says is, boy, if I had that, if I just had that material thing, now you got a puppy school degree, but remember your training, right? Don't trust in money. Don't obey money. Don't jump at money. Don't mourn money. You're going to get a degree. I don't hold to money. I don't hold on to it for the purpose of amassing. Think again of Jesus' teaching. He says, boy, this rich guy, he made some investments and got even richer. What did he say? He said, well, what am I going to do with all this extra money? I guess I'll just build me a bigger barn. Jesus says, now, isn't that interesting? He says, but when the time runs out on your clock, right? When death knocks on your door and cracks your taco, what are you going to do then? What's he trying to say? His teaching and his training are trying to get people to a first nature proper relationship with money. This is true spirituality. In God Over Money School, we learn that God is our source. Money's just a tool. If you sat with Jesus and said, I'd like to be with him for 3 years and I'd love to go to that 3-year school, you would learn, I don't trust in money. They said, what do you teach? What is that guy? What is that carpenter down there teaching you? What is he doing? You're going over to Mr. Miyagi's house. What are you doing? Well, I'm waxing his cars, painting his fence, and sanding his floors, and painting his house. And I mean, I'm not doing anything. No, something's happening in you. What are you learning following Jesus of Nazareth? Well, what did we learn? When I look back on it, I think I learned I don't trust in money. I think I learned I don't obey money. I don't jump at money. I don't mourn money. I don't hold to money. I learned God is my source. Money's just a tool. I learned that abundance of money does not equal peace. I learned that abundance of money does not equal peace. Let me tell you what else I learned down there at Jesus of Nazareth Spiritual Training School. I learned that the absence of money doesn't equal helplessness. Man. If Jesus were here teaching you and I today, if you were saying to Jesus, show me Show me how to live. Show me what Jesus, what would you learn? Spend 3.5 years with him. I guarantee you, he'd have worked out. Well, actually, I come from a lot of money, and I'm very, and my dog Buffy, and my mom Muffy, and my dad, no, I don't know what's a Thurston, whatever, I don't know, whatever's a regal sounding name. What did the guy call it in Gilligan's Island? Was it Lovey? Is that what he called his wife? Thurston Howell III. If you hung out with Jesus of Nazareth, he would say, "Well, I'm glad you come. I'm glad you have a lot of money. I'm glad you have a lot of credit cards. I've got a preferred rewards member card at every hotel." He said, "Well, that's fine. You're just going to turn it over. Just put it in the box. Right now, we're not going to live off that. Jesus would teach you what? I don't trust in money. How to not to obey money, how to not jump at money, how to not mourn to money, how to not hold money. He would have taught you that God is your source, money's a tool, that the abundance of money doesn't guarantee peace, that the absence of money doesn't guarantee helplessness. That's what you and I would learn if we were there on the coast of Galilee, on the shores of Galilee. Well, so how are we supposed to learn that now? Thank God the same Spirit is now teaching us today. Teaching us today. But even with your degree now in your notes, I got my degree, Pastor. I learned this back in the 90s. I was thinking the other day about the people always talk about the faith camp or the prosperity camp, and let me tell you, the faith teachers knew more about the true nature of God than almost anybody else out there. What they were teaching was more rooted. It's all based in false weaponized religion. Believe this and you go to heaven. Don't believe this and go to hell. I'm not saying the foundation was wrong. Wasn't wrong. It was. It's just as demonic as all the other false church, private salvation. Jesus died to get some blood to an angry God and all that, sinners in the hand, all that antichrist nonsense. But the faith teachers had two things right. They believed God was gooder than traditional religion taught. And they also were right in breaking people free from always thinking about money first. They grew disciples in thinking about the Spirit before they thought about the flow of money. So even if you get your degree from God Over Money University, GOMU, even if you got your GOMU degree, your certificate, whatever it is, there, even with a degree, CECs are required. You're gonna have to stay in continuing education. I remember when Connie and I fell in love, I didn't even know what a CEC was. I thought, is that the things from the hairspray that's messing up everything? She said, that's a CFC, moron. I didn't know what it was. But we fell in love. And I mean, I saw her one time and thought, I can't ever see her again. She's the devil going to ruin my life. And then I saw her again. I was like, I never want to be apart from her. And then she's like, well, I got to go out of town. I got some CECs I got to do. I said, what do you got to go? I got to go out of town for 3 days. You already got your degree. You're already an occupational therapist. You're an OT/R/L. I mean, you have everything. Well, you to maintain your degree, you got to get continuing education. And even if you get your degree in God Over Money, there's going to be continuing education. In your notes here, your life in the Spirit will never move farther or deeper or higher than your mastery of this issue. You're never going to grow in your spirit life. Show me God, show me God, show me God. If you think you're going to say to God, show me, and God's not going to take you through God Over Money School, that God's not going to bring you back over to CECs to reinforce the latest and greatest, cementing this spiritual reality in your life, if you think that, you're deceived. You got another thing coming. Why? Because your life in the Spirit can't move farther or higher or deeper than your mastery of your relationship to material things, which is really none other than the mastery of yourself. It's really not about mastering the outer world around you. It's about mastering your inner world. It's seeding yourselves. And in this thing, well, doesn't the Tao teach the same thing? It does. They're all trying to teach you God, the sans cosmic, God, the big God, right? What does Jay-Z say? So, do you believe in God? Do you believe in religion? Because I believe in God religion. What is that? He said, man, you're not going to weaponize me down here, but if you're asking me, do I believe there's a mind as the source and the center of all things, and that love is at the source and the center of all things, I believe that. And somehow God and God religion and love religion and the true one thing that's true of all, in all places at all times, somehow this idea of righting your relationship with the material world works its way through all the iterations of these religious things. Why? Because that's what the Spirit of God is trying to teach and move us into being spiritual. people. Here it is in your notes. You cannot flow in the interest of money and the Spirit at the same time. Money will say, whoop, over here, over here, over here, over here. And Spirit will say, over here, over here, over here. Well, which one are you gonna go to? And so many times, the Spirit of God says one thing to us, and we want to check money. What do you say? And we should have the reverse. We should go through life and hear the dictate and the snap. Money should say, yoo-hoo, oh, right over here. Hello, hello, hello. And we should look at that and say, before I talk to you, let me check over here and see if you get the nod from God. That is what it is to be a spiritual person. Cannot flow in the interest of money and the Spirit at the same time. At one point, a conflict is sure to arise. There's going to come a time you're going to hit a fork in the road and money will say, woohoo, like Fred Flintstone. Money is going to come on one shoulder and God is going to be on the other shoulder. You should do this. You should do that. You should do this. At a certain point, you're going to be in a place of conflict. And what did Jesus say? Or whoever passed this down in the name of Jesus to us? You're going to hold the one and despise the other, or you're going to hate one and love the other. You cannot serve God. People who have seated themselves, people who haven't, in your notes, people who haven't seated themselves, if you've not yet seated yourself in the spirit life or the higher flow, you will err from that flow because money will say, no, I want you to do what I'm telling you to do. And you'll say, okay, I'll do that. And it's not that God's going to send you to hell. It's not that God's going to put curses on you. It's not that, but you have to detach, right? You have to, like the Matrix, right? You have to detach what God is programming and saying, and you got to allow money to now, all right, now we're on money dictate, and you're not going to ever reach where you're trying to grow in the Spirit unless you get to this point. In your notes, just got a few minutes left. If you're always preoccupied with how much you can get, who owes you what, and who's upside down in the, I did for them, but they didn't do for me. If you're always preoccupied with that stuff, who owes me what, where I can get this, how am I going to get this? If you're always preoccupied with that, who owes you what you can get, what you can lose, who's upside down in the, well, I paid last time, they got paid next time. I bought them a $50 gift for their birthday. They only bought me a $25 gift for their birthday. They bought me a $100 gift. I hope they don't expect me to. If you're always caught in that kind of stuff, you're out of alignment. If that's the dominant thought of, well, did they pay last time? Did I pay this time? Well, we split up the appetizers and their bill was $12. Mine bill was only $10. Why am I paying more for them? I don't know if I can try. Now listen, if people can't do math, which man, when the bill comes around, a lot of people lose the ability to do math. That's fine. You can sit there and go, I think these people are bad at math, but you can't mourn it. You can't fixate on it. You can't upset. Why? Because I'm not going to allow how this $2.87, I didn't even order a drink. Why am I paying for a drink? I'm not going to allow that to move me out of my peace. But if you're one of those people who's always preoccupied with how much you can get out of this, well, how much are they going to pay me? How much am I going to get? How much are they getting? Why is he getting more than me? Why? I mean, all this false obsession. Why is she? Well, she's been here 6 months. She's making, if you live in that preoccupation, you're gonna get out of alignment with the Spirit, and you're gonna be in the lower flow. Finally, here, if your moves and shifts in life, if the way you move and the way you shift, if it always centers around the best and worst financial outcome, you are in the flesh. You are in the lower stream. If your moves and shifts in life always center around well, if we do it this way, will it bring more money? If we do it this way, will it cost more money? If we do it this way, we're going to come. If that's how you approach everything, Jesus would send you back to puppy school and say, well, you've obviously forgotten your training. I think we're going to recommend about 2 of continuing education, wax on, wax off. Why? Because you're losing, you're disconnecting from that thing. Now, here we go. Just these last couple of minutes. I'm giving you elements of the spiritual life. Last week, we ended on number 21, which is discern the difference between seed and bread. Discern the difference between seed and bread. That whenever something comes into your hands, you have to know what part of what I have in my hand is for sowing and what part of what I have in my hand is for consuming. And spiritual people are sensitized They don't just receive anything and get on autopilot. What are we got to pay this. We got to do this. We got to do this. They stop for a second and say, this is coming to my hand. What part of this is for sowing and what part of this is for reading? Now, 2 Corinthians 9, we looked at it last week, 2 Corinthians 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's all based on this idea that generosity is a form, it takes on a spiritual dimension, a farming dimension, that when you give, when you give something, they equate it to sowing. That they equate it to putting a seed in the ground. Now, Oral Roberts didn't make this up, and the faith people didn't. I don't know if I believe that. That came right out of Paul or whoever wrote it. He says, look, we're going to help some people out here financially, but just know this before you give. A farmer who plants 5,000 seeds out in his farm, her farm, when the harvest comes in, he said, well, how come you got so much corn? Well, how much did you plant? This is what's written here. And somebody said, well, you know, that's just a thing that people use to raise more money. There may be people like that. I don't know. But I will tell you this, every person I know that ever taught it, lived it, lives by it. Why? They live by what? That there's a seed dimension to our generosity. Giving takes on a seed dimension. In your notes, we ended last week with this. This is a one-time decision and a moment-to-moment prayer. What I'm talking about when I say discern the difference between seed and bread is a one-time decision and a moment-to-moment prayer. What are you talking about? Concerning all the resources that are or ever will be under my power. It's a one-time decision and a moment-to-moment prayer. So take stock of your life. What do you have in your life right now? Well, I got my 401k. I got my 403b. I got my savings. I got this. I got that. You know, I heard a thing one time that said wealth is not measured with a calculator. It's measured with a calendar. One of the best definitions of wealth that I ever heard was, you want to know how wealthy a person is versus how rich they are. Wealth is this: how long can you go without working and maintain your lifestyle? If you cease to work today, as I'm not going to work anymore, how long could you live like you're currently living without working? That's how you measure your wealth. Psalm 112 Psalm says, wealth and riches shall be in your house. Riches you count with a calculator. Wealth you measure with a calendar. We talk about retirement. Well, I got to keep on working a little bit longer. Why? Because if I retire now and I live this long, I'm going to run out of money before I die. How long can you go without working and maintain your lifestyle? Somebody said, well, if I quit working right now, I'm 62, I'd really like to make it to 70 and get some things paid off. I'd like to downsize this and that. But if I quit working right now, I could live another 10, 12 years. They're measuring well. Somebody said, man, if I quit working, how long can I go without working and maintain my lifestyle? I should be at work right now. I should be at work right now. But you could make a one-time decision with everything currently under your power and dominion and everything that will ever come into your power. Say, well, right now, Pastor, somebody says, I got about $100,000 equity in my home. I got about $100,000 in my retirement. I got about X dollars in my insurance or whatever it is. This is about, I got this much cash in the bank. I got some jewelry and I got some little silver coins with the presidential eagle on it and all that kind of stuff. And I got me some Dogecoin or whatever. So, I guess right now I got $200,000 of all that's currently under your jurisdiction and what might come into your jurisdiction tomorrow. It's a one-time decision and a moment-to-moment prayer, which is this. Is simple as this. God, who is this for? And what is this for? Who is this for? Well, I know it's for me. I work hard for the money, so hard for the money, and you better treat me right. That's great. That's great. But that's not the spiritual dimension. That when you sell a home and you say, well, we sold our home, we did pretty good. Well, I'm just going to roll it all over here. We're downsizing. We're this and that. I'm just going to take this money. But you leave the closing table and you say, God, I got this money in my pocket. What is it for? Who is it for? What part of this is bread and what part of this is seed? What part of this is destined for consumption? What part of it is destined to be deposited in this seed dimension? Well, I just don't work like that. Well, that's fine. I mean, you say, well, I just sold my book. I just sold this. I just got that. And what part of it is for you? And what part of it is God saying, no, I want you to take some of that. And I want you to help so-and-so get their book. I want you to take some of this. And I want you to go help so-and-so get their film thing. I want you to take such and so, go help so-and-so. Go call your niece up and find out how much she still owes on her student loans. Well, God, I just sold my house. I was going to put that money aside. I was going to go on vacation. I was going to consume all of this. I was getting ready. I just sold my house. Somebody said, I just sold my house and put $300,000 in my pocket. And my husband and I decided that once we get this money in our pocket, the first thing we're going to go do is take a European vacation for a month. We've already planned it out. It's $60,000 and we're going just because we want to do. That's fine. But that's not how spiritual people flow. Spiritual people say, Lord, we got this. What should I do with it? And the Lord will say, make it a 2-week vacation instead of a month. Take that other part over there and call up your niece and say, Niecey, how much do you owe on those student loans? She says, well, Auntie, I owe $26,000. I'm sending you. Give me your bank details. I'm sending it over to you. Somebody say, who in the world would ever do something like that? Well, sounds like you got to go back to Jesus of Nazareth University, because that is the mindset of spiritual people. Yeah, that was number 21. Elements of living in the Spirit. Here's number 22. It's our last thought of the day. I see you out there. I see you, Chef. I see you, Dave. Hey, Dave, how you doing? I see you. Man, if this is blessing you, let me know. This is. Number 22, respect seed value. You want to be a person of the Spirit? You want to ask God? I'll tell you this. If you truly ask God, show me what it is to be a spiritual person, this is part of it. Respect seed value and its enduring legacy. Respect seed value. Seed has value. It's Jack and the Beanstalk. All you doing, you got a couple of little seeds here. Well, this is nothing. Well, in this form, it's nothing, but in its harvest form. Respect seed value and its enduring legacy. In your notes, be mindful of the good seed that will meet you in the future. Be mindful of the good seed that will meet you in the future. Good seed, the people you've supported, the people you've helped, the generosity you've sown. You know, a lot of people, they just go to a restaurant and leave a tip. I never just go to the restaurant and leave a tip. I'm always sowing. I just want to be a blessing to you. Be mindful of the good seed that will meet you in the future. You can never go wrong being nice to children, being generous with children. I tell you, I don't have any Bitcoin and I don't even have the wallet to do it, man. The stuff I got facing me right now, it doesn't even matter. But there was a time. Man, you're my neighbor, and I told you, I said, hey, young man, listen, I'm going out of town. I want you to do this. I want you to take my trash cans up. I want you to check my mail. I want you to hold on to it, blah, blah, blah. Man, when I came back in town and reached into my pocket and pulled out that and say, here you go, bud. Thank you for taking care of me. Oh, gee, mister, that's real swell of you. Are you serious? I mean, never seen anything like this in my life. Well, you can never go wrong being a blessing to children, being a blessing to the vulnerable, being a blessing to people who serve. Hey, Aaron, love you too, sir. You may forget the seed you've sown, but the flow never forgets it. The flow of seed time and harvest never loses track. You may not even realize how it's coming back in your life. The favor and the goodness and how it takes on these different dimensions. You may have even forgotten that you were ever a blessing on that dimension. The flow never forgets. Well, what about the bad seed that people have sown? Listen, I agree with you that you can't keep doing people wrong and find any sort of fulfillment in life. I agree with that, but I don't necessarily believe in bad karma. I don't believe in You did somebody wrong and somebody's going to do you wrong. I don't believe in that. Listen, there's enough suffering and hardship out here in the world. It's floating. It's out there, flotsam and jetsam. It can bump into your boat at any time. It touches who it wills. Sometimes it brushes the suffering and hardships of life. Sometimes they brush against us. Sometimes they crush. There's enough bad stuff going out there. I think Jesus, they looked in Jesus' time and they said, man, did you see the headline that those guys out there doing that construction thing and that whole project came down and killed all those guys? Jesus said, I saw that headline. And they said, would you see where Pilate took those people from that thing and they burned them up and made their blood their own? Jesus said, I saw that. And they said, well, what do you think of that? He said, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that happened to them because they were especially bad people? Man, if that kind of stuff happens because people are especially bad, I guess y'all better get ready because you're as especially bad as those other people. He wasn't saying bad things are going to happen because people are bad. But if we keep thinking that bad things happen because people are bad, we live ignorant of the one giant shared suffering that we're all partakers of. There's enough bad, there's enough hardship and suffering floating around in this ocean called life. And sometimes it brushes us. Well, that was kind of a rough thing. Sometimes it crushes us. I don't have to believe in bad karma. As a matter of fact, I think suffering and hardship are out there, but I actually think the good seed that we sow are our attempt to resist that suffering in the world. They're our attempt to push back against it. I mean, I think part of our dominion is that in the middle of this flotsam and jetsam stuff that's floating in the world that just seems to indiscriminately bring hardship and suffering to people, I think that's out there. Well, do you believe in bad karma? They're getting that thing because of the bad thing they did. Be careful about that. Why would you even want to go through life with that type of heart? When you see somebody getting something bad, don't think, well, they did bad, now it's coming around, ha, ha, ha. Why? Because are you saying you never do bad? I would never want to live that way. But not only that, I don't want that type of heart. Not only that, but you should have humility. Why? Because it wasn't they did something bad and that's why it's coming back on them. They're just in the same sea that you're in. And there's some suffering and hardship floating out here. And sometimes it brushes you and sometimes it takes a chunk out of you. But what we believe is not when you do bad, bad comes to you. What we believe is when you do good, that's a little tiny attempt to push back against some of the flotsam and jetsam suffering that's out there in the world. I know this from the Hebrew Scriptures, Genesis chapter 1. What do you know from the Hebrew Scriptures? It says God gave mankind, human, male and female, dominion. And it says then the next thing God gave them was the herb-bearing seed. He gave them dominion and he gave them seed. He says, look, I've given you dominion over all this, and now I've put something in your hand that if you exercise that dominion properly, you can take this seed as an expression and as an extension of that dominion. I love that idea. And somebody say, what are you trying to say? Well, they're talking about farming. They're talking about, here's some seed, and if you don't want to be hungry, plant it in the ground. It's coming out of the Fertile Crescent society and a Sumerian society, and they got the Babylonian versions of the Sumerian versions, the Hebrew versions. It's all just when they started stopped being nomads and started planting. I don't care how you believe history begins at summer. I don't care how you believe that. Whatever narrative you believe, what they're actually saying there is that people stopped running and chasing after stuff, and they learned that if we just stay here and plant here by the water, we'll be okay. That's what the Hebrew thought was. But somehow in the New Testament, Paul, or whoever was Paul, said, hey, listen, I'm gonna teach you something about the Spirit. I'm going to teach you something that I've learned from Jesus, God Over Money University, that when you give to people, there is a seed dimension to it, and you can actually use that on purpose. That's us attempting to give expression to our dominion by utilizing generosity. That is part of what it means to live in the Spirit. I don't think hardship or suffering require any assistance to blow it to anyone's direction. Yeah, I like that, Karen. No, the suffering doesn't end. We're surrounded by it. And here's the thing about it. My individual suffering, your individual suffering, really what we have is it's just one big blob of suffering. Some of us get just touched by it. Some of us get just crushed under the blob of it. But the way you don't look at someone else and go, well, there they are suffering, that's not how you look at it. What you look at is say, wow, they're carrying more of the grand weight of suffering than I am. How can I enter into the fellowship of that suffering? Man, isn't that what Jesus taught us about what it means to be human and what it is to be a nature of God? Closing here. Sow seed as a matter of principle. Sow seed as a matter of principle. Galatians 6. What does it say? In light of Galatians 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. In light of the idea of seed time and harvest, what does verse 10 say of Galatians 6? As often as you have an opportunity, do good to people. As often as the opportunity presents itself, when you see a chance to do good, do good. Hey, Jan, love you. Love to Brad. As often as you see an opportunity to do good, do good. That's how a spiritual person goes through life. A spiritual person doesn't pull up at the stop sign and see all the people out there homeless. My God, get a job. That's not how a spiritual person goes through life and says, Lord, is this an opportunity to do good? I walk out of a door. Now listen, what? Somebody said, what are you laughing at? I am so far removed. Man, I was in, just knowing the homeless people around me, knowing them on my streets, giving them how they can be helped and what I have. And I just thought, my God, a decade ago, I could meet you in a restaurant and absolutely transform your life with the financial resources that I had. And here I am. I don't have a pot or a window, but it doesn't matter. You know what I do have? Seed in the ground. I plan on living a long time, but I'll tell you what, both of my children will always say, they'll be laying up in the bed, and her man, Mikey, laying up in the bed on his wife's wonderful bosom and just a gift of God just curling there, and Olivia laying on her husband's shoulder and talking about it, and they'll just remember, what do you think about? Why'd you just laugh? I was just thinking about my dad. Do you know my dad, everywhere we went, he was out there giving something to somebody. People would come up to him and he would, well, as therefore you have opportunity. Somebody said, well, doesn't it make you sad right now? Your financial state doesn't make me sad at all. Landlord called and cussing out and this and that and whatever's going on doesn't bother me at all. What is it? Doesn't bother you at all. Why? Because whatever's happening, my seed will meet me ahead of me in that place. This is how spiritual people live. I don't trust in money. I don't obey money. I don't jump to money. I don't dance to money. The abundance of money doesn't guarantee peace, and the absence of money doesn't guarantee helplessness. I live by the seed that I put in the ground. That's how you live. That's how you live. Now, it is also true. She says, you don't believe in karma? I don't believe in bad karma. I did something bad and the universe is going to do something bad to me. I don't believe in that at all. I believe there's enough suffering in the universe that we don't have to know where it came from or how it got here. All we need to do is know how to respond compassionately toward it. It's true that if we live lives in the interest of the lower stream, we will harvest from that lower stream corruption. That's what Galatians said. What does it mean, corruption? That if all you're going to do is live in the interest of the money and the financial things, then all you'll ever have is stuff that doesn't transcend corruption. All you'll get from that is stuff that passes away in this life. Oh, I got a big car. I got a big house. I built a bigger barn. I got a bigger diamond. That's fine. If you just live in the interest of that I got a bigger diamond, man. It's going to meet me in the next place. That's the lower stream. But if we live in the interest of the higher stream, if we live in the interest and the promptings of the Spirit, we will, on some dimension, likely a dimension not measurable by a calculator, we will reap a harvest of higher living. There is a Zoe that comes out of being a giver. There is a peace that comes out of being a giver, a generous giver, a generous sower. There is a remarkable, what I mean by remarkable, it is remark-worthy. It is worthy of remark. There is a peace on the life of those who live in that higher dimension. You may come to a very humble home and say, man, you don't have the big fancy car. You don't have the big fancy house. You don't have the big fancy TV. But what is it about your house? What is about my house is I don't live in pursuit and yielding to the dictates of the low stream. I live in pursuit and yielding to the dictates of the high stream. And there is a marked dimensional peace. They say, I don't know what it is about coming over here. I don't know what it is about being around you. I am a person of the Spirit. That they may not have the vocabulary to sense. I mean, that's why I got in-laws and outlaws and strangers and families that say, well, I just like being around you. I just like being around your family. I don't know what it is every time. It's like I sit here and I could just relax. Friends of the kids, they come over and say, I don't know what it is about your house. I know what it is about our house. The pot or the window doesn't matter. We can be living in a hotel or we can be living in a mansion. The dimension, the remarkable dimension of what we have is not sourced in its material value. It's sourced in, we are reaping the higher from the higher. We are drinking from the higher stream of life. Last point of the day. Don't ever forget what I'm getting ready to say to you. When I talk about being a giver, right, a sower, I want you to respect seed dimension. But here's this last thing. The same respect is due when you're on the receiving side. It's easy. It takes some development, right? Once you declare your major in God Over Money University, if I'm getting my degree in God Over Money, the introductory classes are, all right, let's teach you that your generosity has a seed dimension. So as you go through, you're not just being kind to people. You're not just removing burdens. You're not just receiving. You're putting something in a present that's going to meet you in that future place. But that's only your first couple of years. That's only your first couple of semesters of classes. As you get your advanced degree, you're going to learn this, that when you're on the receiving side, someone say, I'm rarely on the receiving side. Well, that's not true. If you open your eyes, you'll find that people are tremendously favored to you, that things work in your, if you sit down and really count your blessings one by one, you'll say, my God, but here's what you got to do. You got to receive this thing, not as that person was real nice. They just sowed a seed. When you go out and you live generously, see it as seed and say, Lord, I thank you that this will see me again. When you treat that child or that woman or that man or that thing or help that family or help this person or go into that orphanage or see these refugees, whatever you're trying to do, wherever you're trying to bring good, don't ever lose sight of the fact that you're not just bringing good, you're putting a seed in. But guess what? When goodness comes to you, don't just say, well, thank you. See it as, man, a seed was just sown into my life, and release your faith for a harvest in that person's life. Receive it as seed, believe for a return to all those who sow in you and yours. Auntie comes in town, brings your kids in, lines them up, slides you an envelope, a bank envelope with $1,000 in it, brings in all the nieces and nephews, and she's got shopping bags everywhere, and this and that, oh, auntie, and this and that, oh my gosh, this and that, because you're her own, she doesn't have any kids, and she's always looking to bless you. Well, don't you say, auntie, thank you so much, it means so much. Don't you rob auntie of that. What should you do? Auntie, can I pray for you? What? Lord, we receive this as seed into our house. And I pray for my aunt. God, she's blessed on every dimension, but I pray that you just bring her super. What are you doing? I'm not just, I'm conscious of seed when I'm the sower, but be also conscious of the seed dimension when you're the receiver. Oh, I so-and-so saw this. They saw I was doing this. And, my son's into photography, man. He's into photography. I mean, like, he's big time. You can follow him on social media. I mean, this thing's happening. He started a publication in a magazine, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just supernatural. But somebody said, oh, man, I see you're into photography. What camera are you shooting on? I'm shooting on this. Man, I got a lens for you. I'm going to give you a lens. Oh, thank you. Not thank you. I pray a harvest. This person just deposited something which on me was a material thing, but on their side of the fence, it was a seed. God, return greatly that as they've blessed me, as they've sown into a life of a visionary, as they've contributed to a business, as they've contributed to a dream, as they've sown into the life of another child, as they've sown art into another artist's life, may that come back to them. What are you doing? You're not only giving with respect for the seed dimension, you're receiving with respect from the seed dimension. Hey, Ulysses, love you, man. Yeah. You want to live a supernatural life? This is how it's done. This is how we live. All right. I think I did okay sitting down. I'm just trying new. Show me, Lord. Show me. Listen, thank you for your support of Connie and I. Really, thank you for choosing us as ground that you sow in. I will tell you this, there is not a day that goes by that we don't treat your support as seed, that we don't pray that it comes back to you on the material and the immaterial dimension, that fruit abounds to your account, that you bump into a harvest and a manifestation of it, that even in the middle of this flotsam and jetsam suffering that's here, that what comes into your life, something of your seed pushes back and holds at bay some of that stuff that's trying to press in on you, and even in the middle of that pressing on you, you operate generously and from a seed dimension. Connie and I take it very seriously. Why? Because we are sowers. even in the middle of tremendous financial whatever, we have never, ever stopped. Hey, Law. Hey, Isaiah. I love you all so much. Even in the middle of just craziness, we have never stopped being sharers. We've never stopped being sowers. So because we know that we live by that seed time and harvest, there's never anything you say, my God, I just want to be a blessing to your family. I ask God of everything under my dominion, and the Lord told me that part of what I have is for you and your family. We never have that come into our lives because we live by that seed mentality. We never, ever receive anything from you that we don't thank God. They just didn't give to support. They sowed something into our lives. Amen. We receive it. We pray over it. We release a harvest because that's how we live. We live that way in everything we do. And whether you know that's how you're living or not, we treat you as people of the Spirit and sowers. Even if you say, well, I don't do that. I just give you some money because I feel like I should do it. However you're seeing it, we are releasing our faith for that harvest. Secondly, our church, what do we have? We got more Christ, less Christianity. That's what the church is. If you missed the intro, if you missed Grace Conversations this past week, man, make sure you're getting our emails because we're sending out marriage conferences, marriage things all the time. We got new podcasts. We got this. Make sure you're getting our emails. You can go to our thing. But we don't have a steeple. We don't have anything to build. We don't have anything we're doing. Somebody said, well, what am I supposed to do with all my religious energy? Go out and put it into the people around you. It says on this thing, ask God to show you. Isn't that what we started with? Show me. Show me how to live like Jesus, to go about doing good, bringing healing to all those who are in this crazy mixed up world. In this crazy mixed up world. To be the love, the embodiment of love in this crazy mixed up world. That's what this church is about. And that's what you're about. I used to go to church. I get so frustrated. They're still teaching heaven and hell and how you get in and who's going and all that stuff, all that Antichrist stuff. We're not really about what Jesus taught. We're not really living anything spiritually. We're just trying to defend why we don't, this one's going to hell because he didn't do enough. This one's going to hell because they did too much and they trusted what they did instead of trusting Jesus. And this one's trusting Jesus, but they need to do stuff. I mean, my God, get off that hamster wheel immediately. Start living a Christian spiritual life immediately because all that other stuff is nonsense. Well, I don't know how to be a follower of God. I don't know how to be a religious person apart from church. You know what you do? God, show me. Show me. Find your peace, find your community, find your place. Get to that library, get to that children's hospital, get to that sewing circle, get to that beard club. We get together and we all grow our beards out. And it's not really had nothing to do with beards. It's just about finding each other and developing relationship and seeing one another. And it's beautiful and it's of God. And there's so much more church going on in the beard club than there is going to the place where on this verse tells you how to go to heaven. Everybody else telling this, there's going to hell. I mean, the devil, the dark powers and religious structures, they got us before Christ's teaching ever got on the earth. But through all that 2,000 years of church history and lying, they couldn't keep it from us. Because throughout all generations, there have been some people who could see through the bollocks and connect with Christ. And said, I'm not making my religion about any of that. I'm going to go out and try to find a way to help people. That's what our church is about. I speak peace, life, health, love, joy on you and yours. Supernatural life, supernatural peace, great grace, great love, greater than grace, greater than, oh, God is merciful. He chose to beat Jesus, not me. We reject all of that false contra Christ stuff. We say now, God, show us, take us to the shores of Galilee. Show us who God is. Show us how to live a spiritual life. And let us not be caught up in the false weaponization, the us-them religion. Angels minister to you all this week. Breakthrough, harvest, increase, an abundance of love, an abundance of shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken. The life of God, the Zoe life of God on you and yours. This is my faith. In Jesus' name. God bless you. Make it a great week. We'll see you back here next week. God bless you all.